More than discussing Vande Mataram, the question that we should ideally be asking is why are we? What is our interpretation of the song, and why do we want to commemorate it today? If you want to commemorate, Vande Mataram has two distinct parts. One, it's an anti-colonial song. Second, it had a certain communal tinge of linking nation with religion. My argument would be, let us stick to the anti-colonial, and if that is the key connotation of the song, the question that we should ideally be asking is, what is being anti-colonial in today's India? Who is ruling us? Second, I think this kind of a rule making has a link to generating a majoritarian mob lynch psychology. That you start targeting others. Everybody thinks is on a high pedestal of nationalism, and you start targeting. And this has been this government's position on almost everything. Why is this not an insult? Who would sit on high pedestal to guide who is insulting? How would we know somebody's intention of who is insulting and who is respecting the national flag? I mean, the entire purpose of nationalism, Neelu, is to generate love for nation. There is a love and admiration should be the core ethics, but today it is fear. And I think part of the problem with RSS is that their notion of nationalism is stuck in 1947 with partition. I mean, they keep rewinding, and the question that they should ask themselves is that what is that nation stands to gain by turning the clock back again and again?
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Union Home Ministry has issued detailed guidelines mandating that all 6 stanzas of the national song, Vande Mataram, written by Bankim Chand Chattopadhyay, must be sung first whenever the national song and the national anthem, Jana Gana Man, are played together. Now, in an order which was dated January 28th, the ministry has laid down protocols for singing the national song, specifying that its 6 stanzas with a duration of 3 minutes and 10 seconds shall be rendered at official functions such as the arrival of the president, unfurling of the tricolour, and governors' speeches. Now, when the national song and the national anthem are sung or played, national song will be sung or played first. That's what the order very clearly emphasizes. Now, it said that those present at an assembly where the national song is sung shall stand in attention. And I'm going to quote again what the order says. Whenever the official version of the national song is sung or played, the audience shall stand in attention. However, when in the course of a newsreel or documentary, the national song is played as part of the film, it is not expected of the audience to stand, as standing is bound to interrupt the exhibition of the film and would create disorder and confusion rather than add to the dignity of the national song. Now, the guidelines also said that the work in schools shall begin with the playing of the national song. Now, the center is observing, we should not forget, center is observing 150th year of Vande Mataram. Now, according to the order, the official version of the national song shall be played with mass singing on occasions such as the unfurling of the national flag, cultural or ceremonial functions other than parades, and the arrival of the president at any government or public function, among others. Now, the order also added that on all occasions when the national song is sung, the official version shall be recited accompanied by mass singing. Now, how serious does the government look as far as this order is concerned? What is the aim and the objective? Is this the way to commemorate 150 years of Vande Mataram? Or is it some kind of a diversionary tactics? Joining me this evening is Professor Ajay Gudavarthy from JNU, author and columnist. Thank you so much, Ajay, for joining. And my first question to you is that what are these rules for Vande Mataram? And how do you see these rules now being implemented as part of the 150th year of celebration of Vande Mataram?
Well, Neelu, Vande Mataram as a song has had a very complex history, from early 19th century to late 19th century. There is a difference in the ways the connotation of the song has undergone a change. More than discussing Vande Mataram, The question that we should ideally be asking is why are we? What is our interpretation of the song, and why do we want to commemorate it today? If you want to commemorate, Vande Mataram has two distinct parts. One, it's an anti-colonial song. Second, it had a certain communal tinge of linking nation with religion. My argument would be, let us stick to the anti-colonial, and if that is the key connotation of the song, the question that we should ideally be asking is, what is being anti-colonial in today's India? Who is ruling us? Who are the dominant forces? Are the Muslims living in India the dominant force who are rubbing something on the Hindus? Are they the ones who are taking our resources? Are they the ones who are staking claims to our jobs? Are they the ones who are looting our trade? Or is there, it continues to be foreign forces now in the current context, Mr. Donald Trump, or it could be China, or it could be Russia. So the question that we need to argue is that the true spirit of Vande Mataram is its anti-colonial legacy, that it could rake up such emotions in people, that Vande Mataram had such a lasting, over 150 years of history. So the question we should be asking is, if it's anti-colonial, who are the foreign rulers who are dominating India today? And is the current regime really interested in decolonizing our economic policies, the neo-colonial economic policies? Or are we just talking about cultural nationalism by targeting the Muslims who have nothing to do with ruling elites? They are neither the rulers nor they have the dominant resources. By all social development index, they are in the rock bottom. Now the statistics show they have gone even below Dalits. So what is that we as a nation will gain by targeting Muslims, by giving this order that everybody has to stand and sing? What is that we as a nation will gain? That is a question that I think we should ideally be debating today.
What do you think is the need for the government to bring out rules? What is what is that compelling reason, according to you, why they brought in rules for Vande Mataram? They could have done without the rules as well, and they could have just said that, okay, you have to sing Vande Mataram as much as you can. But bringing in rules means that, are they going to have a penalty? What if people don't follow that rule? Are they going to be punished? Are they going to be penalized? All that comes into place then.
Yes, that's a very, very good question, Neelu. And this is where I feel not just Muslims, I think the Hindu majority also has to rethink its strategy. Those who are even sympathetic to the BJP and RSS can be at the receiving end. Because this will lead to this kind of a disciplinary attitude towards nationalism, will lead to that anybody can be target. Second, I think this kind of a rule making has a link to generating a majoritarian mob lynch psychology. That you start targeting others. Everybody thinks is on a high pedestal of nationalism, and you start targeting. And this has been this government's position on almost everything. I'll tell you a recent example. That today they are when we go to fill petrol, Neelu, I don't know if you're aware now. At the petrol pumps, they're announcing the numbers of the cars who do not have pollution certificates, so that everybody around starts staring at you. I mean, this is such a dangerous mob lynch psychology you're encouraging among people, that everybody sees the other fellow as the enemy. Everybody sees your next neighbor as the source of your discomfort. It's not the responsibility of the government. So I think these rules have something to do. And this is where the Hindu majority also has got to understand that this is, if you think that these rules will be used only to target Muslims or minorities, but these rules can equally target you. There can be a mob lynch psychology against any Hindu. Suppose somebody tomorrow forgets to stand, or doesn't stand up in time, or is not wearing proper clothes, or is standing wearing half shirt, or standing eating something. Any of these things can be susceptible to a mob lynch psychology. Somebody is eating in a theater burger and standing up, the rest of the hall might hound him. So I mean, the criminal mob lynch psychology that is being encouraged, I think is a very, very dangerous, and this is the most damning thing in this new rules that Home Ministry has brought out.
Right. Since we were talking about rules, so I just thought of enlightening the viewers a little. Now, the current legal framework, which is coming from the order, it says that while the government aims for equal status The Formal Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act 1971 explicitly covers the national anthem and the national flag, and the new protocols for Vande Mataram are moving towards a statutory enforcement of this status. What does this statutory enforcement of this status mean? And before you give the answer, uh, it's also as part of the order that courts have previously noted that while Vande Mataram should be respected, there should be no compulsion to sing if a person has genuine objections, aiming for a balance between patriotism and personal freedom. Now, since it's part of the rule, what happens? What I'm also reading is the potential punishment for disrespect. I mean, this is the general category where if you happen to insult violate the National Honors Act 1971, then what are the clauses for punishment? Penalty for disruption: those who intentionally disrupt or prevent others from respecting the national flag or who refuses to follow the standing protocols at official events could face similar penalties as those for the national anthem. Second is the imprisonment and the fines. Now, reports indicate that intentional disrespect or obstruction of Vande Mataram could result up to 3 years of imprisonment, a fine, or both. I want you to comment on this.
Well, Neelu, this is, in a proxy way, we are moving towards blasphemy laws. That in the name, we are not directly moving like the way majoritarian Islamic states like Pakistan, they are facing the consequences of having blasphemy laws where many political opponents are either eliminated or put under arrest through blasphemy laws. We are not moving directly, but in a proxy manner, this is equivalent to a blasphemy law because these provisions will be so vague. Who is to interpret what is an insult? I mean, if I remember Prime Minister Modi using the national flag to clean his sweat during a mass yoga session. I hope you recollect that incident. Now, why is this not an insult? Who would sit on high pedestal to guide who is insulting? How would we know somebody's intention of who is insulting and who is respecting the national flag? I mean, the entire purpose of nationalism, Neelu, is to generate love for nation. There is a love and admiration should be the core ethics. But today it is fear. You want to generate so much of fear in your own citizens and who are born and brought up here that, if you don't respect flag and you create a majoritarian psyche, which now I don't think this majoritarian psyche is any longer going to be limited with Muslims. I think that this rules have to be led in terms of governing the majority now. They know that power is slipping, that this is no longer about targeting Muslims alone. I think that would be a very, a nonchalant way of interpreting it. These rules and this new framework is about governing the majority who are not, being disciplined or who do not support RSS. Tomorrow, if you say that they will even include RSS in this list, that if you disrespect RSS or if you disagree with RSS codes, if you disagree with their dress code, tomorrow everybody might be expected to wear a khaki pant and a white shirt and a black. Who is there to stop you? That can be read as a disrespect and an insult to the nation and to the Hindu religion. I mean, these are extremely dangerous things which I think even BJP and RSS own people cannot save themselves because these are wild allegations anybody can lay on anyone.
No, but there's another aspect to this that it seems that the government is constantly trying to intimidate the citizens and keep them in some sort of a fear that, look, if you go against the government, we have another clause. So this is just another clause to further the intimidation tactics. I mean, this could be just another arm now, which is available for the government now that they have codified and they have said that the rules would be the same as what apply to the national anthem. So is this an intimidatory tactics also to get the citizens to believe and obey whatever the government is saying?
Absolutely. That's the core of the intention behind these rules. That's why I'm saying that this is not just a communalism. This is not just about targeting minorities. I think much of the public discourse on this rule since morning have been that it is again anti-communal, it is communal, it is targeting minorities. No, I think it is much more serious than that. It is not just about targeting minorities. It is about bringing into the net anyone practically who can, who they think is uncomfortable for their political project. So this is actually an attack on the majority. I would call this a majoritarian attack on the majority. That's how I would formulate these rules, that anybody who the government is uncomfortable with can be brought under these rules because these are such vague rules of insult, that you live under fear, because there is so much of uncertainty, unpredictability. And a good instance of this, Neelu, is to show how forget Hindus, forget opposition. Look at the BJP MPs and themselves, how they behave in parliament. They are the ones who live in constant fear. You must have watched today Rahul Gandhi's one of the incidents in parliament where Mr. Prahlad Joshi was giving a press bite, and Rahul Gandhi casually walks in and wants to say that let us talk together. Mr. Prahlad Joshi literally is gets hysterical and runs away from the scene. This is the fear that nobody will be spared, and BJP MPs themselves should understand this. Even you are not spared, because anything can be seen as an insult. So that is the kind of unpredictable uncertainty the government want to rub in, and which is now going beyond extraordinary laws. It's no longer about UAPA. This is going to be a very routinized thing, and these kinds of interpretations are susceptible to community kind of gaze. That it need not be police, it need not be the officials. Anybody in the neighborhood might feel that you are insulting the national flag, or you are not standing up, can raise a complaint, can gather a mob against you. This can become very routine affair all over India, and this is extremely dangerous.
Supposing if you are watching something and there is maybe 2-3 seats away, if there is a person who's not liking you and he sees that you are not standing while the Vande Mataram is being played, they can go and raise a complaint that look, and also click a picture of that person on their phone, and here is the evidence of this person not standing while the Vande Mataram was being played. Now this and then the police comes at their head. So what would you do? I mean, what is it going to lead to in the society?
No, why you are being very civil in saying that somebody only when he's sitting? It can be a blatantly false complaint. Who is there to? It can be a blatant false. Maybe you are standing, maybe you are showing all the respect in the world, but somebody felt that you insulted, and somebody goes and raises a complaint, and you are politically an uncomfortable person to the regime, or you're uncomfortable to the fellow who has better connections than you with the police and administration. That's the end of the story. You remember in Uttarakhand, they did something very similar with live-in relations. Under a uniform civil code, they said all marriages have to be registered. Anybody living in the live-in relations, it's the responsibility and duty of the neighbors to put in an official complaint. So this is like a criminal mob psychology you are encouraging in the society, where one neighbor turns on the other. It is now no longer about Hindu-Muslim. I think now Muslim is a dead horse for this regime. They are not able to milk anything out of creating this Muslim kind of bashing. So they have now moved into where regulating majority, I think, has become the primary target of such rules.
Fact, the timing when these orders and these guidelines come in, that also raises the suspicion, because so much is being said about Epstein files, so much is being said about how the PM is compromised, how we have sold off India's interests to America. Now I'm trying to just link these things also with these guidelines, that look, okay, you are going to say that the PM is compromised. Now you will have to just concoct a case where you can rub in the person into this act also. So do you think that this also could be misused on that line as well?
Absolutely. I think the immediate context obviously is Bengal election. I don't think this government can ever do anything without keeping elections in mind. I think they just simply don't. They become dysfunctional if there are no elections. The only way they think and function and make rules is when keeping some election in mind. So definitely this has something to do with Bengal elections. Second, this definitely is a response to the crisis of Naravane case, where the way Mr. Rahul Gandhi raised it in Parliament, the repeated things about Chinese intrusions into Indian border. I think this is also a reply to that. So I think definitely these rules come in the hindsight of both these issues, Bengal elections as well as the Naravane case, where you turn the responsibility. I mean, this regime, I think, has had one consistent record, is the record of not taking responsibility and being accountable to anything. You ask them to be accountable and respond to something, they will turn the searchlight onto the society. And I think they have done this again and again. You see the last 10-year history, this has been their track record. that whenever you ask them for certain accountability, whenever you ask them for a response, I think that it turns the searchlight back onto the society, and it's asks people to target one group against the other. And therefore, in this case, I think they're again developing the same thing, that it's to remove them from accountability, removing themselves from answering certain very pertinent questions that opposition is raising. They suddenly start saying that, you have to keep a watch on the brother next to you, don't keep a watch on the government. An ideal citizen is, we have been told ideal democracy is that we have to have vigilante towards governments in power. Today we are being told you have to be a vigilante group against the neighbor living next door. That's the kind of suspicion and conspiracy theories that have been created.
Right, but now look what happened today in Parliament. Rahul Gandhi was using words like Epstein and Adani's lawsuit case in the American federal court, and now the Treasury benches are saying that they will go and serve a notice regarding the expungement of these two words, which means that Epstein and Adani are unparliamentary words now. You can't use them as part of the parliamentary records. They are beyond parliamentary scrutiny. Now, what would you say to this? And then to top it all, you also have rules for singing Vande Mataram or not obeying it. You have a penalty for that. What would you say to this now?
No, I think this, they're being dealing with this in a very, very unintelligent manner. If you draw a comparison with where Trump is dealing, because even his name is indicted in, Epstein files, but he's not, shouting every moment Epstein is informed. He's saying that list will be out. Then he said that let's move beyond, entire case is now shut. Nobody is interested. There are many ways in which one can, raise this question. But the way our government is so in your face, looking nervous the moment Epstein is referred, the moment China is referred, the moment Naravani is referred. The governments don't respond in that manner. Even if you have committed some error, there are other more parliamentary mechanisms through which you can deal with this. And as a follow-up to bring this, Vande Mataram, keeping Bengal elections, one thing we can tell you, Neelu, common people are not, I don't think these issues matter to common people. I don't think they can win a Bengal election or even make an impact in Bengal by bringing in Vande Mataram as a key issue. I don't think this concerns common people. That's a long gone history. And I think part of the problem with RSS is that their notion of nationalism is stuck in 1947 with partition. They keep rewinding. And the question that they should ask themselves is that what is that nation stands to gain by turning the clock back again and again? Yes, there have been errors in history. We have gone through a very rough phase. 1947, millions of people lost their lives. They lost their habitations. They lost their homes and property. What is that you gain by going back, by recreating that history? That's a question I think is something that is staring at RSS, which is very clearly reflected in election. People don't respond to these issues. It's only through massive propaganda, through massive media, they're trying to rake up certain issues. And this again leads on to other questions, that why do you want to make non-issues such issues? Because you really do not have answers for issues that really matter. But people are asking another set of questions on the ground, and you don't want to have that on your agenda. There could be a question of education, health, employment, inflation, and I think this government is simply not serious enough to address any of these. So keeping on narrativizing issues that are past, dead and gone, which don't really matter to common people, you cannot link, even assuming excesses committed by Mughal rulers in the past, you cannot directly link them to common Muslim who's living in India today. It just doesn't make any sense. What has this common Muslim got to do anyway with the Mughals of the past? Now, how do you then get retributive justice by targeting a person who is in informal sector doing puncturing tire repair, by doing retributive justice to what excesses Aurangzeb committed? Does it even make any sense? So these are things. That's why you need so much of hype. That's why you need so much of fear. That's why you need so much non-discussion. That these issues, they don't want any discussion on it. They just want them sensationalize and create a hyper hysteria.
Absolutely. In fact, I was reading one of the tweets from Pawan Khera, which very clearly said that what he has heard from a very senior journalist of a newspaper is that now the newspaper outlets have started managing their content management systems, which is called the CMS, which will automatically block certain words like Modi and Epstein, or if at all Modi is connected to Epstein, automatically their CMS system will search for those keywords and start deleting it. Now, if this kind of a thing is happening, I mean, in the days to come, then which means that the moment you open your mouth and say the word Epstein, then you end up in a jail, or your video will be taken off, or your newspaper will be penalized, or will there'll be a case filed against you. What does it look like then?
I mean, that's what they've attempted, right? In social media, they've arrested people who have put up posts on Facebook, for instance. I mean, it's as trivial as that. Somebody putting up Facebook, somebody giving slogans. This is a pattern that is being followed everywhere. You take part in a dharna, you can be arrested. You shout slogans, you're criminalized. Sloganeering is now equivalent to being a terrorist. Even assuming somebody has given objectionable slogans, how serious is an offense? So the sense of proportion that citizenship needs for healthy democracy is under attack. I mean, these could be offenses. Assuming somebody gave very objectionable slogans, let's assume, as a test case. What is the proportion of punishment? How insecure should we get? I mean, that's a legitimate question to ask. Somebody said, in JNU, Modi Shah ka kabar kho denge. I mean, that's a slogan, right? How serious is that offense? You bring down hell and heaven comes down because somebody has given a slogan. Every slogan becomes terroristic. Every utterance becomes criminalized. Everything, if you start beginning to criminalize, then, I mean, there is no possibility that there can be any civic life in the country. That in every sloganeering, every instance, everything can be criminalized. There is no limit to it. If you keep stretching it, even utterance of a word, as you rightly pointed out, to somebody mentioning Epstein, whether in relation with Modi or not, could be seen as an offense. So, I mean, I think this complete collapse of sense of proportion, this kind of mass insecurity, that's happening, Neelu, because usually it is rulers who give certain direction, but today you have rulers who are highly insecure. That's a very, very strange, that they have had this governance, but I don't think they have the required confidence to govern a nation of this size and of this history. I mean, they claim a long history, but I think they have not developed that kind of a required self-confidence. I mean, and my appeal would be that RSS and BJP should become little more self-confident. Somebody, Modi cannot give a reply in the parliament. You suddenly say women MPs are about to attack you. What kind of things? I mean, there's no end to this. Tomorrow you might blame someone that he's carrying something. This kind of bizarre logic, and somebody make some comment, in Gujarat or some state, somebody came up to the stage in BR, I think, abused Modi's mother. That becomes a national news. Assuming somebody has done it, how seriously do you want to take some odd XYZ coming onto the stage and abusing Prime Minister's mother? I mean, everything becomes disproportionate. I think this collapse of sense of proportion, I think, is deeply troubling in democracies, because no democracy is possible if citizens lose the sense of proportion.
Right. So, your last words on this rules on the Vande Mataram singing, and what does it go to show? And this is my last question to you. How would you conclude?
One, these are rules that cannot be implemented, right? I mean, who is going to judge where? In a RWA colony, if there is a national anthem being sung, how many people are standing, how many people are sitting? There might be people with some physical discomfort. There might be people with, who are disabled, who might be sitting. And so if you complete this, as I said, if there is a collapse of sense of proportion, then what we are leading towards is a mob lynch psychology, that where the citizen begins to imagine that he has been empowered, because citizens can be prone to these kind of hallucinations, that he is the one who needs to save the nation. So he is the one who needs to take the law into his hands. And so, then we can go go down the road of being absurdity. I mean, there's no limit to that absurdity, because then every second person becomes a suspect. Everybody, and then it also translates in cultural terms. That's why you see, Neelu, in last 10 years, all old prejudices have come back. Even in Delhi, now I'm feeling North versus South, old prejudice, which was dead and gone. 50 years, 30 years back, people used to talk about South Indians being targeted in North. You will have those things come back. But every person who is then different, it's no longer about Muslims or Christians. Every person who is linguistically different, ethnically different from food habits, becomes a case of a suspect case, because you are so paranoid about every difference that then everybody can be criminalized, and having such rules which are vague, which are deliberately incendiary, deliberately trying to provoke your insecurities, are, I think, a testimony to this kind of a mass psychology.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor Ajay, for joining on HW News. Thank you.